Denny Hamlin goes on the defensive, says he won't apologize for how hard he drove at the end of Sunday's race. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove, presented by Tableau TV. Happy Monday, folks, back home, but I can't get over how exciting that Kansas Cup Series race was. You can click right up here or click the link down in the description below to check out my full post-race on-site instant reaction and review. This video that you're watching right now is a follow-up to that one, sort of like a post-credit scene, if you will. For the second time in as many weeks, Denny Hamlin made contact with a Toyota teammate and controversy ensued. I should say, two very different circumstances. Last week, battling for 11th, getting held up, spins Ty Gibbs. This week, battling a fellow playoff driver for a race win on the final. Very different circumstances, but an awkward coincidence nonetheless. Anyway, y'all know what happened at the end of Sunday's race. In case you missed it somehow, overtime, Toyota, top 5 positions. Bubba Wallace, desperate for a win to get into the round of 8 for the first time in his career, drifts up the track, forces Christopher Bell's car to push, get tight. He has to lift, lose momentum. Here comes Denny Hamlin, who'd had a strong afternoon, swept the stages. The only reason he was back in traffic was because his backup Jackman made a mistake on their final pit stop. Denny Hamlin was a man on a mission. As he said afterwards, he only had 10 to 20% power steering, white-knuckled that entire final stage. He had a nose out front heading into the final 2 corners, drifted up the track, forced Bubba Wallace to lift, get into the wall. They both lost momentum, and that handed the victory to Chase Elliott in a Hendrick Motorsports Chevy. And social media exploded. Oh, Toyota choked. Horrendous. Denny Hamlin cost his driver his only shot at the round of 8. What a dumb move. This team self-destructing. Meanwhile, I'm over here kind of in the middle. Not even in the middle. I'm like on the outside of this boxing ring, trying to figure out if any of the drivers on track actually did anything wrong, indefensible. Like, I could justify every Toyota driver's actions in those final 2 laps, and I don't think it's that hard. Bubba Wallace, kind of took advantage of the 20 a little bit, which, fair enough. You're side-by-side racing for the win, a playoff spot on the line. This means so much to Bubba. I get it. I had no problem with that move. And then when Denny Hamlin, who'd had the dominant car all day, is trying to crack the top 10 all-time wins list, when he got a run, got a nose out front, and ultimately employed kind of a similar move, I had no issue with that either. Every decision the drivers made in the moment was justifiable, in my opinion. The result just sucks for Toyota because they threw away a win entirely and gave it to a rival Chevy team. But when I watched the finish last night with my own 2 eyes there in person, I just thought it was good, hard, aggressive racing with high stakes. Which is why I'm not surprised that Denny Hamlin today on his podcast Actions Detrimental has gone on the defensive. He said, quote, "If the listeners are wanting an apology, they can turn it off now because I'm racing for the win and I definitely won't apologize for racing for the win." I'll link the full Actions Detrimental podcast episode down in the description below. But Denny Hamlin went on, said, "On Sunday, I am the driver. The person in the 11 car is the driver. Joe Gibbs pays me a lot of money to make sure that car wins a championship or has a shot to. Could you imagine the outrage if I just backed off and let Bubba have it? People would have lost their minds." To Denny's second point, he's exactly right. I see all the time in the comments, NASCAR fans get pissed when a driver's not going 100% all the time. NASCAR fans notoriously hate team orders or anything that remotely resembles them. I don't think Denny Hamlin sailed it off into turn 3 trying to put Bubba Wallace in the fence. If you look at how they entered the corner, I mean, they are on top of each other. The 23 is all over the 11's door. That always means less grip, usually for both cars. Hamlin even told reporters after the race, and again on this podcast, that if he could do it again, he wishes he would have entered even lower, tried to separate himself from the 23, get some distance there so the car would have turned a little bit better. here. But no, I don't believe Denny Hamlin sailed it off into turn 3 knowing he was going to fence the 23 car. I don't believe that. I do believe that in that moment, Denny was only thinking about the 11 car, the 11 team. To his first point back in that quote, Denny has said that before. He has made that discrepancy in the past. Monday through Friday during the week at the shop, yes, he is 2311. He is promoting his new organization, trying to build them up. But on Sunday, when the helmet's on, the visor's down, he said he is a Joe Gibbs Racing driver. To his point, Coach Gibbs pays him a lot of money. If he were to back off and allow Bubba Wallace to win that race, putting Joe Gibbs Racing driver Chase Briscoe right on the cut line, how does Denny explain that to Joe Gibbs? Yeah, coach, I know you're paying me millions of dollars to try my hardest and win trophies and prize money for you guys, but yeah, I helped my team win instead. Denny Hamlin owes it to Joe Gibbs. He owes it to his team, the 11 team, to give it his all. And in that moment, he had a nose out front, win number 60, a spot in the round of 8, 5 more playoff points. He had that in his sights. They raced each other close in the corners. Denny lost grip, got into the 23. They both obviously lifted and checked up. That's why the 9 car got such a huge run. It's not like Denny just flat-footed it around the corner. They both ended up lifting. Bubba got into the wall. Chase Elliott was able to take advantage. Ultimately, the results sucked for Toyota, but again, I don't fault the decision-making in the heat of battle. It's unrealistic to expect Denny Hamlin going into turn 3 and 4 at 190 miles per hour with a win in sight. It's unrealistic to expect him in that moment to have this 1,000-foot view of the situation. Yeah, sure. Big picture, racing for the championship, that win probably means a little more to Bubba Wallace than it does Denny Hamlin. Like, that was Bubba's ticket into the round of 8. Denny probably going to make it in on points regardless. But again, when he has the helmet on Sunday, it's the 11 team first and foremost on his mind. Anyway, that was my reaction Sunday night. That's still my reaction now. Denny admits on this podcast there are parts of the driving he wishes he could go back and do differently to maybe make the corner better, race more cleanly, but he doesn't regret going for the win, nor should he. I'll share one more quote from Denny Hamlin. He was very complimentary of Bubba Wallace and his growth and improvement the past couple of years, but he did offer this fairly blunt assessment of Bubba Wallace and Tyler Reddick's point situation. Hamlin said, quote, "I hate it that the 23 is below the cut, but 2311 ran like crap at New Hampshire, and that's why they're below the cut." Damn. Yeah. And then he goes on to take some accountability for how bad the cars drove at New Hampshire a couple weeks ago. He's not saying the drivers were terrible or anything like that, but I think underneath that, Denny's point was, hey, as a driver, just because they were so bad at New Hampshire doesn't mean I have to bail them out at Kansas and go easy on them. I think that was sort of the point he was trying to make, and I'm with him. I think as long as Denny Hamlin consistently keeps the driver and team owner characters separate, then the standard is set. Everyone should know what to expect. If he has a win in his sights, he's going to race really, really hard. Think back to Phoenix earlier this year when Denny Hamlin raced Christopher Bell on that final restart. Bell kind of did the same thing. Ran Hamlin wide, took advantage of the 11 a bit, to secure the position. That's how Joe Gibbs Racing teammates have raced each other this year. And you're expecting Hamlin to go easy on a 2311 car in a playoff race? I don't think so. I don't think Denny Hamlin should have to apologize. Anyway, I encourage you to listen to the full Denny Hamlin Actions Detrimental podcast for even more perspective on his mindset in that moment. One last thing real quick before I move on. Again, I mentioned Hamlin needs to set that standard that he's going to drive one way, manage another. He needs to be consistent with that. I think he has been pretty consistent with that. His words have been very consistent over the years, but I will point out, wasn't it 2 years ago, Denny Hamlin went on record saying that at Daytona, he would more likely push Bubba to a win than Ty Gibbs? He did say that. It was a couple of years ago. A lot of time has passed since then, but in that moment, Denny Hamlin, the Joe Gibbs driver, seemed to have 2311's best interests in mind instead. So again, got to be consistent. If I'm going to criticize Hamlin in this moment, I guess that's the criticism perhaps I would offer. But yeah, no real issue with how Bubba raced Bell. No real issue with how Hamlin raced Bubba. At the end, it just didn't work out. Again, that's racing. Okay, we need to move on. Beat that to death. It's time for one of our newer segments. After a week away, the NASCAR Xfinity Series raced at Kansas on Saturday. It's time for our Xfinity Series Race Rewind segment presented by my friends at Tableau TV. With Tableau, you can watch, rewind, or record live TV. There's no monthly fees or subscription. You buy the device once, hook it up to an antenna, use the app to scan for local channels. You have access to dozens of free streaming channels as well. And boom, you are ready to roll. Thank you to Tableau TV for sponsoring the show, for sponsoring this segment. Brandon Jones got the huge win on Saturday. I think they're championship 4 contenders. Yeah, Zilisch, Allgaier, barring the most epic of collapses, they're going to get 2 of the 4 spots, but the other 2 spots are up for grabs. And right now, Jesse Love is barely above the cut line. Austin Hill is actually below. There's a real possibility that one of, if not both of the RCR guys get eliminated in this round. It could come down to Jones, Mayer, and rookies like Carson Kvapil, Taylor Gray. Do we trust them? I'm not so sure. Big win for Brandon Jones, I think, sent a statement. Several other drivers made statements as well, including Connor Zilisch, who set a new Xfinity Series record by scoring his 16th consecutive top 5 finish. That beats Sam Ard's record. Sam Ard, one of the pioneers of the Xfinity Series, if you will, won like 2 of the first 3 championships back in the early 80s. Connor Zilisch is out here breaking records that are decades old. Can we say this is the most impressive run any driver has ever been on in Xfinity Series history? As far as a 16 race sample size, yeah, I guess the record books would suggest so. I want to mention Rajah Caruth. Talked about him coming in, made his first Xfinity start of the year with Hendrick Motorsports, qualified 8th, really impressive. But as the day went on, I felt like they didn't keep up with track changes, dropped just outside the top 10 at the end of stage 1. They were back around 14th at the end of stage 2, ultimately finished 18th. Some really good, some really fun racing there in the middle of this race. He was 2 and 3 and 4 wide for like 11th, 12th, 13th place. Great wheel-to-wheel experience for Rajah Caruth. Hopefully he gets more opportunities with Hendrick, Chevy going into next year. I'd love to see how he can hopefully continue to develop. And then one more young gun I want to mention, and I can't even call him a young guy. He's kind of new to the NASCAR scene, but I looked it up. He's like the exact same age as me. Brendan Queen, 27 years old. Butterbean, likely going to lock up the ARCA Menards Championship soon. He made a start Saturday for Colleague Racing, caught a timely caution towards the end, but then ran solidly inside the top 10, finished 9th, just his second Xfinity start, I think, ever. Really impressive stuff from Brendan Queen. Comes from late models. We know he's talented. And again, he's 27 years old. He's not 17 like some of these other kids with very little experience. He's an experienced, seasoned race car driver showing some of that talent this past weekend at Kansas Speedway. So few Xfinity Series names I wanted to mention in my Xfinity Series Race Rewind segment presented by Tableau TV. Going to do these every week during the Xfinity Series playoffs. You've asked for more Xfinity content, and thanks to my friends at Tableau, we're able to deliver some more of that. I got a video with Ryan Ellis coming up later this week, a behind-the-scenes look at race day. Can't wait to share that with you. He's a funny guy, good character. Between that and Power Hour with Brendan Poole, we've got a lot of Xfinity Series content these days on the channel. You've asked, we've listened. That's it for today, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe for more NASCAR news, reactions, commentary, and so much more every day, every week, all year long. And I really appreciate my Patreon supporters as well. Have a great rest of your day, folks. I will talk to you in the next video. Thanks for watching.